welcome to On the Fives. It is July 15th. It has been a while since we all met here on the Fives. And why? Where have I been? Why have I been pulling a Where's Waldo, Carmen Sandiego? Well, for various reasons, family visiting, family emergencies, just some various things. But I'm glad that you guys are all here today. So thank you. I'm just very, very grateful. And today is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited because I have some returning guests. And we are going to be talking about a very specific book, as well as what we're currently doing in the Red 5 Reading Book Club. But before we get started with that, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Nicole. I am part of the Red 5 Network. I spearhead our Red 5 Reading Book Club, and we are currently this summer reading the Chronicles of Narnia. Tonight, we're going to be talking about The Magician's Son. And very soon, we'll also be talking about the other various books, including the one we just started this week, which is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And you are more than welcome to join us. All you have to do is send me a DM. You can find me, again, part of the Red 5 Network on Twitter, also known as X, at Red 5 Reading, or you can go to the bio link /Red 5 and not only find the Red 5 Reading Book Club, you can find the Red 5 Tavern. You can find many other amazing podcasts. There's literally something for everyone. Whatever your favorite nerd thing is, I'm pretty sure you're going to find it. Okay. If you're into first watches, Michelle and Natalie are your girls over Force of Light. If you like sci-fi and some nerdy stuff, you're going to want to go visit my guest that I'm going to be bringing on here in just a few minutes. And that is Merisha and Andrew over at Science Fictionary. And there's just so many more. So make sure you go to biolink /Red 5 and check it out. Again, literally a little bit, something for everyone. Okay. I promise. And if not, you just send me another DM saying, Nicole, what else? And I'm going to go, well, I'm Peace, Love, Fandom. So I love almost everything. I love a little everything. So anyways, again, I am so very excited that everyone's here. Please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you know when I go live. And make sure you hit the like button. Just a couple more quick things that before we go ahead and get started tonight. Again, thank you again for coming and checking us out tonight. I am very excited because the particular book that we're going to be talking about tonight touches my heart in another way. For those who are joining me for the first time, and those who've known me for a while might know that I have a nickname. For those who don't know, I have a nickname. Actually, I have several nicknames. But in particular, I have one that is known as Polly. And all those persons not joining us tonight, he's part of our Red 5 Reading Book Club, as well as in the Red 5 Network, and that is DJ, also known as Red 5 Charlie. We are Polly and Dickory, and we were inspired many years ago to get started into reading the Chronicles of Narnia. And tonight we'll be discussing that a little bit more, and I'm excited to do that with all of you. Just a couple more prerequisites before we get started. Magician's Nephew is actually a prequel. It was the 6th published in the line of Narnia. However, we began with it. Why? Because it's a prequel. And I'm excited because it sets it up. And without further ado, I'm going to go and bring on my guests. I'm so excited they're here for me today. Oh, hello, Isaac. I want to make a note here. He says, I may or may not explore every attic I get access to. Hi, my name is Nicole, also nicknamed Polly. I understand this message right here. Grew up going into my grandparents' attic, which is why I loved Polly, which is one of the reasons why DJ started calling me Polly. And I started calling him Diggory because he's Diggory and Polly. It just works. You know, it's just when you get to know a character, you're like, that's who I would be. In the literary world, it is quite possible I was Polly. But I did not ring the bell like Diggory. So without further ado, though, let me bring in my amazing, wonderful guests because they are returning. And I'm excited because I did confirm tonight with one of our 2 guests that's coming back that she's going to be coming back soon for another series that I already have started called Once Upon a Fairy Tale. And I'm so excited about it. But without further ado, please welcome in Andrew and Merisha of Science Fictionary.
Hello, hello.
How's it?
Good that you guys are here.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Love to
I
talk
know.
Narnia.
I'm a total dork about this. So I'm just curious. So how were you guys introduced to Narnia, whether it be the books or the movies? What were you introduced to first?
So I homeschooled growing up, and
Mhm.
so you just have to read Narnia if you're a homeschool kid. It's a rule.
Fair.
So for me, I was at some point gifted a large box of books that contained things like The Hobbit, an original. Well, not. I mean, so the first edition of the trade paperbacks
Okay.
for
The kind
the
of cream colors with the real. Yep, I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
So I mean, the things I remember in that box were like Black Beauty, Huck Finn, um, The Hobbit, the Narnia books, a lot of other things. But um, so the one that I always think of first, the one that stands out the most to me was, of course, reading The Hobbit. The Hobbit changed, like,
Mhm.
the Hobbit's the book that made me a reader. And other than that, I'd say the ones I got into pretty quickly after that were the Chronicles of Narnia. So I was introduced to the books way before, like when I was like 9, 10 years old. So way before they started trying to make movies.
Long time before there were movies.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was really excited. Like I remember when the Focus on the Family Radio theater stuff was coming
Mhm.
out. Like listening to them as they were released
Yeah.
back in the
Mhm.
90s.
Mhm.
Watch that terrible BBC series. You know the
Mm.
one.
You know the one.
But I mean, these are certainly some of the books that I attribute to making me a reader. Like, so this was all when I was like 9. This would have been 89, 90, right in there when I was 9 or 10.
Mhm.
The Chronicles of Narnia, The Hobbit, and the Heir to the Empire trilogy, 89.
Mhm.
Like all those books, I got all those books the same year. Like for
Mhm.
me, it wasn't that these were old books I was getting. These were books that were new, all new to me that I didn't know. And so
Mhm.
like, man, all the books that I must have consumed at 9 or 10 years old that really like shaped the way that I view all of these mythologies and stories.
Mhm. For me, it's so interesting hearing how you guys were introduced to it because I can remember watching the animated cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I would go to visit my grandparents' house at the farmhouse, which is where I also love to go into the attic. I
Mm-hmm.
was always searching and stuff, but I can remember watching. They had a recording because back in the 80s you could do that,
Right. Yeah.
record your favorite stuff. And I would watch like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Right. So then we have the movies that came out through Disney,
Mm-hmm.
right? The
Like
late 90s, early 2000s. Right,
2006 or so.
right.
Yeah.
And I got the big fat book because I was like, books, I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
Mm-hmm.
I might have read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe before, but whatever at that point. Here's the thing, didn't read them. Why? It was a big fat book and I got like very overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, eh. But then a few years go by and a friend has an extra set of these at a garage sale.
Yep.
Those are a little less intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Snagged them up.
Yep.
Did I read them right away?
Yep.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. Not because I didn't want to. Again, I think I might have done The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe because it is, forgive me, probably the most popular. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
has been given or made into being the most popular. Go a few years ago, and DJ and I, this is when we first met, so maybe more than a few years ago. It might even be almost 5. It might be 5 years ago. Oh, wow. Okay. settling that into my mind that we are that year, you know. And him and I had become friends, right? And I'm just discovering the Red 5 network. At the point I wasn't in. And I'm like, we decided he's going to do this podcast. We're going to do Into the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
And I had yet to fully read every book. Again, the only book I really knew at that point, I knew there was other books because I'd even thrown, a Narnia watch parties before, theme parties.
Mm-hmm.
Because so I knew about Prince Caspian, I knew the Dawn of the Dreader, but I knew nothing beyond the movies and the cartoon. I knew that there had been a BBC. I had not been able to see it at that point. So when we started this, I was just like, I was in awe. And by the way, we did not finish that, sadly, that series. We got to everything but 2. So I'm excited because as we read this as a book club, the last 2, everyone gets to see me go for the first time. So, and I'm so excited because I saw myself in Polly. And, DJ could see that. And I could see him in Ziggery. And it was just like, what happened? And I'm just like, this is amazing. And literally lost my mind and went, why isn't this more popular? Isaac says, I watched the BBC Lion Witch in the Wardrobe as a kid and loved it. I eventually found a paper bag full of books that had the whole chronicles. I devoured them and read them multiple times a year. That's cool. You found them. You found them. No. I want to tell you guys, like, they found you.
Yes.
Let me tell you, they found you. That's how that works. Hello, Nicholas of Backyard TARDIS. He says, I enjoyed this book. I've read 3 of the books, but not
this one.
Have you read this one yet then? Or are you going to read it?
Not
Nicholas, one. You should. This is an easy, good read. I promise you. You're going to. I'm excited. This is my second time reading it for the book club. And I was just like, hallelujah, like all over again, all excited, all over again. And I'm in agreement, Merisha, this is also one of my favorites.
It's kind of funny because, like, when you approach people about these books, everybody knows the Chronicles of Narnia, but most people have only ever read one book because The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for decades was included in summer reading programs for schools.
Oh, good point.
And so people would read that one book, but they never, like, people that are unaware that there is this whole other set of books. And then, of course, if you leap, and this one, for some reason, is always left off everybody's list. And like, this is the one this is your creation story that builds your whole narrative.
I know when we were discussing how we were going to read this, and I know it's the 5th book published, and it was published on May 2nd, 1955. And I remember, no, I want to start here because that's where again, DJ and I had started previously. And I was just like, no. And I had this full feeling like, no, this is where we need to start. Even though it's the 6th, technically, unlike Star Wars, where I really believe you should go 4, 5, 6.
Right.
I believe there is an excitement in a little bit in knowing.
Yeah.
There's an it builds because at the end we have somewhere that we're like, yes, we're going, but there's a particular creation, a wardrobe to speak of.
Yeah.
And knowing who's behind it. Oh my gosh. When I lost my mind, I was like, that's like, this is me. I think even the first time I was like, oh my God, that was that's who that was. Like it took a character I felt like I knew all these years and elevated it a whole new way.
Yep.
Oh, God, I love it.
Word is that Tolkien preferred the chronological order as opposed to publication order.
Yeah, but that's Tolkien.
I mean, not Tolkien. Lewis. Lewis preferred to start with The Magician's Nephew and go all the way through.
Yeah. I was going to say, of course, it'll be Tolkien because they're friends and the Inklings. 2 of many of the Inklings, but really 2 of 4, and then 2 of many. Yes, Nicholas back here title says, yes, I read the first book as a class in school, and then I read the next two on my own, but didn't even know there was a prequel. I'm telling you, neither did I until about 4 or 5 years ago. Well, okay, I take that back. I had the books, but I hadn't read them yet. I had yet to discover why. Well, because I was busy reading other books. And I would like to also make a special note that when I began reading these, I was also coming out of, again, I didn't really even know there were Star Wars books until about 2018, 2019. I was reading a lot of Star Wars like about 5 years ago. Probably more Star Wars then now. I've got to have a balance because I get burnt out.
Yeah, so. you gotta balance it. I know Narnia is one of those book series that I kind of like have on cycle. It's like every once in a while, it's like I run out of things to listen. I start a couple of things. And I'm like, hate it. And I'm like, Narnia, go back.
Well, Narnia is always a good one because you can read through the entirety of it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like it's the kind of book I used to take on vacation. Because in the, if we went on vacation for a week, I could read, that week I could read through the whole thing pretty much in the evenings.
You and Ubaldo could be friends on this one very easily because I'm sure you did the same.
But this is a book I used to read repeatedly, but this is one I was talking to Merisha about it when she said we were doing this tonight. I don't know when the last time I read this one was. It's been a little while.
Because you have read it. So yeah. Isaac says, if I ever had a time machine, I'm going to go back and be a fly on the wall during the Inklings meetings. You and my both. Isaac, you're taking me with you. Okay? Don't forget to pick up those two. Did I call it? I know what those smileys mean. I do. I tell you what. Now, again, with the Red 5 Reading Book Club, of course, we're reading one book for every 2 weeks. But that's because there is such deep meaning and discussion. An hour and a half doesn't cut it for C.S. Lewis. In fact, it really doesn't, because you could really, it's like, break it down. You could really break it down into not just themes, symbols, and things like that, but you could also go the Christian side of things. And even that is,
well, there are entire college courses based around the writings of C.S. Lewis. In fact, if you're in the chat and you're listening and interested, Hillsdale College has one that's free. That's free online introduction to C.S. Lewis.
I'm listening. I think this might have to happen in my life.
Yeah, right.
Well, and here's the other interesting thing. Did you guys? I can't remember. Did you guys also read the Space Trilogy? Did you guys do
Space Trilogy? I have started it like 3 times. I've never made it all the way through.
Number 2 was my favorite, personally.
Okay. Have you read it?
Yeah. Well, we read it in the book club.
Oh, okay.
But number 2 was my favorite out of the trilogy, because even I was just still in shock when Adam Goswick went, by the way, did you know C.S. Lewis had created Space Trilogy? And I'm like, what? Like literally I think I went through our Discord and I was like on the camera with him, like, excuse me, talk to me, because we can't just not talk about this now. Yeah. And I will still say I still love Narnia over the Space Trilogy.
It's totally different.
It is totally different. It's very even different even from his other ones, like Mere Christianity. That's a lot.
Yeah, like
this takes everything and makes it simpler. You know what I mean? Like it brings it into fantasy, and I love that.
Like the Space Trilogy, I feel like is not like C.S. Lewis is always so like tongue in cheek and snarky usually in his writing, and you don't get as much of that in the Space Trilogy. There's not as much of that, just kind of like, and Uncle Andrew very nearly escaped being planted head foremost. Like you don't get quite those kinds of little Britishisms. At least I didn't. I think that's part of the reason it took me a little while. I didn't get quite as into it. But I do love me some Mere Christianity, though. That's another one that I pull out and read on the regular.
I do too. Yeah. Although it's a whole different type of meaty, which is what I mean. Yeah. Like it's very different versus the fantasy level of Chronicles of Narnia. those who are not believers will still enjoy reading these books. Because I truly believe like God works through different ways. It's not just going to be through Christian books. He's going to work in where he chooses to work in.
All the
Well,
things.
that's some of the
Yeah.
brilliance of this book is that if you read it blind to Christianity, you just have a really great story, really great mythological story. But it's so pointedly Christian. Like, it's not like, it's not like Tolkien, who wrote Lord of the Rings as what he later called an inherently Catholic story. It's Christian throughout, but it's not meant to be one-to-one. It's telling it's pulling things from and using them. It's not but Narnia is telling the Christ story.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Aslan is not a Christ figure. It's telling the Christ story.
No, Aslan is actually not intended to be a Christ type character. He is this world's personification of Jesus. Which you kind of come across that reference later in the series. I don't know if you come across, but he says, you'll see me, when you go to your world, you'll find I have a different name there. Those.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's the beautiful thing in the last battle. Is it in the last battle or is it?
I don't know anything about that one yet.
Okay.
Well, I'll back off. But one of the
I haven't read anything but the last
I will stop myself. But one of the greatest lines in anything C.S. Lewis ever wrote is when he explains who he is to the children.
Spoilers, Isaac says.
I will say, though, I feel like I've heard that line before.
It's not that on the nose.
So it's not like it even sounds familiar. And who knows? Maybe it's just because somebody has said it before.
I'm saying it out loud because it's not as on the nose as I made it sound like it is. I'm not spoiling anything. I could give you the line and spoil everything. Because the line would spoil everything.
Trust me, when we get there, you guys are. I'm sure everybody
is that it's not a spoiler. It's a truth that if you accept who Aslan is in the story.
Right. So, Magician's Nephew. You guys have read this many times. This was my second time. Going into this, did you guys notice or pick up on anything new? Anything that's really striking you?
So I think and I think we talked about this on the Red 5 reading the other day, I kind of was struck when I was reading it most recently that I'm a musician. That's one of the things that I do. I teach music, to children, and so spend a lot of time talking about and reading and kind of thinking about music, right, and how it interacts with life. And there are some really interesting kind of scientific things coming out now that basically postulate that all matter is essentially movement, right? That their smallest subatomic particles are movement, and that they build differently, they build on each other, right? They interact differently.
And that it all has a resonating frequency.
Yeah, and that it all has, and so of course I hear that and I was like, it's a song, right? So that's the way that it automatically sort of like clicks in my brain. And I was like, wow, how intuitive that that some of our favorite fantasy writers in Tolkien and Lewis have the beginning of their universes in a song.
Yes.
It's a very, like, traditionally the song of creation is a very old sort of concept. It's a very, but
like Hinduism and the Aztec religion, both very, very pointedly, it's just everything was created through music. But even in the Bible, in Job, there's a mention that kind of alludes to creation through
Mhm.
music.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I love that that's sort of that's the motif that he uses.
Mhm.
Because I think it's one of those things that resonates in a very foundational way. And I think this is the hallmark of good stories that endure, stories that last, stories that we continue to love, is that they resonate with who we are at a very core level. And I think that the song, the creation song, is something that resonates with humankind in a very basic and elemental level. And so I love that, not as a scientist, but as as a lay theologian and as a philosopher, and a historian, that this is the image he used. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the main thing that I think took away from it in my most recent round of
I
reading.
I want to make a note though, a side note. I agree 100% because before we started the Chronicles of Narnia, we also read The Hobbit, Tolkien's
Yes.
The Hobbit. And I love the music. I love the lyrics, the riddles.
Mhm.
Like that was some of my favorite stuff with Tolkien. So going into this and going music, song, lyrics, and then
Yes.
more song lyrics with C.S. Lewis, I was just like, of course. Like, and they're both, course they were friends. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's just like,
Well,
okay,
I
I
was
just, I
on
just love
that note, and on the note of creation through music, if you haven't read it while you're reading this, before you move past The Magician's Nephew,
it. Mm-hmm.
if you it's online, I'm sure you actually, the audio version is on YouTube for the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion,
Mm-hmm.
Tolkien's Silmarillion, opens with his version of the creation story,
Mhm.
and it's worth
Interesting.
reading in
Mhm.
parallel to this.
Okay, I've yet to read the Silmarillion. Like I've
Yeah, you
yet
don't
to
have to
do
read
it.
it all.
I don't
I'm
advise
not.
reading
I'm
the
not there yet.
Silmarillion. I don't advise reading the Silmarillion as a book. The Silmarillion is something you pull out and you read a chapter, because the next chapter is not going to have anything to do with the one you just read.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. It's a lot. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
reading the Silmarillion can be super intimidating. So I usually recommend people pull it out, read a chapter, and then put it back on the shelf.
Mhm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But in relation to this, it's worth reading Tolkien's version of the creation story, because there's some
Mm-hmm.
parallels.
It is also
Mm-hmm.
worth listening to Andy Serkis read it, which you can
True,
find on
true,
YouTube.
yes.
Somebody was saying, somebody in our book club, it was listening. I'm trying to remember who it was. Isaac says movement and sound, movement. Blah, blah, blah. Let me try that again, shall I, folks? Movement is sound, and God has never stopped singing, speaking all of reality into being. 100%,
Yeah,
sir.
I love it. Very
100%, my
poetic.
friends.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so keeping going here, Magician's Nephew, we have some wonderful, vast variety of characters. We have Polly,
Mhm.
we have Diggory. Uh, I know we also had a little bit of a conversation in our Red 5 Discord about the regards of who people thought was more of a villain, between the Uncle Andrew and Jadis, the witch. But then we also have the Cappy, and we have his wife Nellie, and
Mhm.
these other wonderful characters. Do you guys see your guys' selves in any particular characters, or were you drawn to any particular favorite character?
I think to some extent we can all find ourselves a little bit in Diggory.
Yeah.
Diggory is the curiousness, the inquisitiveness, the kind of like, yeah, it says we shouldn't
Did
do
God really
this, but
say?
yeah, it's because he represents the fall of man.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
He's got that inquisitiveness that we all do, and
But that fruit looks that apple. I mean, it looks
But
really good.
I'm so proud of him for that moment.
Yeah.
He avenged himself.
Yeah.
Like Tolkien was doing multiverses before Marvel was. But I came
Yeah.
back to Diggory. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
oh no, that was pretty much it. I mean, outside of that, I don't think I've read it recently enough, and I think it's always been said, read Tolkien at least 3 times in your life. Once as a kid, once as a young adult, and once an older age, and you'll see something different every time.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I feel like I haven't read it since like, kind of right after I got out of college, somewhere in there, that like maybe probably around the time the movies were getting ready to come out. I don't feel like I've read this book in particular in so long. I'm not real sure, how I would see myself in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Diggory though, what makes him him and Polly they're kind of yin and yang, right? She's very innocent, very at the beginning naive. She's very also curious, but different. She also hadn't lived the same way that Diggory had. Diggory, sick mom, having to move, having to leave his pony, having to deal with life situations in comparison to Polly, who's, just kind of not necessarily had it made, and not in like a silver spoon way either, but she hadn't lived the same situation. And I think this, for both of them, created wonderful character development from, Diggory, who's really our main, and, Polly technically is like she is the supporting character, but more than just even some of the other characters. What about you, Merisha? Is there any particular character that stands out to you or that you identify with?
Necessarily identify with? I don't know. I mean, I think I always would, like to be Polly and like be like I'm making the good decisions. I was kind of
at the beginning though.
That's true. That's true. She was the one who was very curious about the rings, right? But I was always a bit of a goody two shoes, and I think Polly is too. So I feel like I've got got a little bit of that going on.
I have to also mention though, for me, Isaac says, I find myself in Diggory as a child, but somewhat as the cabbie, being a blue collar style worker. I've been guilty of ringing the bell. Haven't we all? Don't ring the bell. But also I'm able of finding peace in singing a hymn in peril. Oh, I love that. That's wonderful, Isaac. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Which I wanted to bring up actually the cabbie. Okay.
Yes.
We were discussing this on Sunday in book club. That is, in life, we have situations that happen, right? And sometimes we're the innocent bystander, and now we're thrown into the situation. But God is always there, and he's always with us, and he's going to see us through it. And I see that with the cabbie and with his wife, Nellie, and Strawberry, which I want to make a special note. Strawberry was amazing.
Love Strawberry.
Gotta love Strawberry. And I was thinking to myself, that's how really life is. God found a way to correct the situation, to make good. And the cabbie, of course, I'm not going to spoil it. There's a really cool thing that happens with the cabbie. So if you've not read this book, read the book. You're going to find out the cabbie. There's something that wonderful that happens for Cabbie and his wife and Strawberry. And again, because they were put in a situation, not by choice, but then
they just happened to be there
and aligned.
Yeah.
Nicholas says, I like the cabbie, or shall I say, you'll have to pause that if you want to read it faster.
Spoiler alert.
Whoops.
You don't know how the book ends.
Read the book. Read the book. So I definitely love that. Now, going back to a question that I had asked, I'm curious on your guys' thoughts too. We were having a discussion about Jadis the Witch, as well as Uncle Andrew, and being villains. Because I think C.S. Lewis does a great telling of villains. There is this is evil.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the backstory to it because, all of a sudden we want to feel bad for these characters. No, C.S. Lewis is going, this is evil. This is good. This is what this is. This is what this is. And C.S. Lewis has just such a wonderful way of doing it. So let's talk of villains. Professor Andrew. Oh, and I would like to make a special note. I do remember, I'd have to look it up. I'm going to bring up a comment here in a second that DJ actually had brought to me about Polly, and I'm going to bring that up. But let's talk about Jadis first, though. Jadis and
the deplorable word.
And Andrew.
Mhm.
And Andrew.
Yes, which we started reading it with my son, and he got a really big kick out of the fact that the villain is Uncle Andrew. He's like, oh, looking at his dad like, what? It's pretty entertaining.
I kind of froze up, I think, for half a second.
Yep. There we go.
I totally did.
There we go. Now you're back.
Yep. Will you repeat what you just said? Because
yes, we started reading the Magician's Nephew with my 9-year-old. No, goodness, he's 11. He's not 9 anymore. Anyway, with my son, and whenever he's like, and up stood Uncle Andrew, he was like, Dad, that's your name. It was like, no, really? This just in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was he got a big kick out of that. Yes. Got to worry about that Uncle Andrew.
Mm-hmm. Well, because Uncle Andrew kind of brought on some additional stuff, right? I mean, they called him out for it.
Uh-huh.
Completely called him out for it. Like, cowardice?
Yeah.
They totally did. Real quick. Yes, I did finish the book, but we're trying to encourage other people to read the book, and I don't want to give it away. Anyways, I want to read something, though, that to kind of go, not necessarily villain, but this is something I'm going to share that myself and Diggory were texting about right before we actually started rereading The Magician's Nephew. He's like, I just realized something today. He says the whole Narnia business is Polly's fault.
Yeah, if she had never tried to pick up one of those rings.
And I said, how did you do that? And he says, and then I said, of course, it's perfect discussion for Into the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, read the first chapter of Magician's Nephew. Of course, I've read this, and I knew we were about to start reading it. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, you mean reread it? And I said, and I'm like planning on it. He goes, her idea to play games, her ideas to use the cave, her idea to explore the empty house past digs. She touched the rings, all her. Oh, by the way, this is like spaces in between. So there was some dramatic drama being added here if you were reading this in front of me. Because literally all her fault. And he's like, I finished the box. Anyways.
All her fault. That's what they've been saying ever since that woman ate that piece of fruit. All her fault has just been the line.
All her fault. Always her fault. It's always our fault.
They both have their moment of succumbing to temptation.
Yep.
Sir.
Yeah, they do.
In fact, Polly did not eat the fruit in this book, which did.
Well, but the metaphorical forbidden fruit of the rings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think then the garden ends up being parallels.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of parallel because
everything's freezing up today. But those were definitely both parallels in the book. And I'm like freezing again. I'm like, just make me Han Solo, okay? I'll be the female version. I don't like doing the female versions technically, but whatever at this point. So I wanted to bring up that because I don't think it's villainous, but I thought it was
yeah, she's definitely a catalyst.
Yeah. She is. And that brings me to some themes. I love the various themes, like we were just mentioning, that we have, parallels to the Bible about the good, the evil. We have the innocence and things like that. Is there any particular theme that you guys picked up on that you guys are like, this is awesome? Or something that you noticed even this time around, maybe you haven't noticed before? Because I think it's kind of like the Bible, like where you pick it up.
Yeah.
You read it. It's kind of like the Tolkien books. You read at different stages, you're going to pick up stuff in different ways. The Podfather
I mean,
has made it. He says, Merisha,
if only he had been
wild.
watching the show for the last.
He is wild.
If only he'd been watching the Science Fictionary for the last 2 weeks when she's been back.
I have. It's true.
He's kind of telling the truth. Not kind of. He is telling the truth.
Not just her being back. Like, my show is back, y'all.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
I've been trying to make it as much as I can. When I'm not working, I'm like, oh my God, they're online. And I'm at work.
Here we are. That's the problem. We're a little unpredictable.
well, my problem
Okay.
is that work and podcast both happen right here. And so, like, if you just like get too distracted and you hit a button all of a sudden, you're podcasting and you're supposed to be working.
Oops. I'm sure the banks will be really happy about that. Whatever.
And the new rule with
Narnia.
Andrew goes live.
I'm going to
Andrew
Narnia.
goes
I'm
live.
beginning to think the blimps mean I'm going to Narnia.
Oh, okay, that works.
Oh my gosh. Well, then pay attention, sir.
He also doesn't give warning. He's just like, whoop, here we are. Yeah.
There we go. Where is it? Andrew now goes live when the opportunity presents itself. Like he's
Because
here.
God's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah. And if Andrew wants his wife to do it, he has to wait for like me to be in the perfect mood.
Ooh.
Yeah. Adams. Yes. But they got a second Adam and so do we. So
Yes, we did.
yeah.
I know. And that I know. I'm excited because we're going to begin to explore more of the sons of Adam. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Adams and Eves in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to forget though, is that the wonderful world building that happens in C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia. It's not just about Narnia. Even Charn, which is what is, still in a way is so exciting. I don't know why, but it's very like, I'm like on the edge of my seat because I am just in love with what he's exploring for us. Like he's presenting it, and I feel like I'm right there in the story.
Yeah. We I always love like that first he does such like a masterful introduction of Jadis because like they see her, she's an image and she stands up and she just starts saying horrid things, horrible, terrible things. Like, oh, there's the torture chambers and there's the, place where my father killed 700 nobles. And it's just like, like there's no, this introduction is so masterful because it's so, like within like 2 paragraphs, everything you need to know about her. Exactly who she is, exactly how she views the world and how she views everything and everyone else. And it's introducing characters often, and it's just drags out for so long sometimes, but it's such a masterful introduction of everything she's going to be, because I mean, the thing is, this character was already established, right? This character was already established as the White Witch and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And so, to have to come back and create a compelling backstory in a book this big, in one section of one chapter, in a tiny book, like that's pretty impressive.
The line that Lewis walks with creating a book that's ultimately meant for children but appeals to adults is pretty amazing. And that's in the way, part of that is in the way for kids, in the way the good versus evil. You know who people are pretty much from the moment you meet them. You learn who they are real fast. There's no beating around the bush about it. But at the same point, those characters have room to change or not, or to become different or more fleshed out than they don't stop with that initial introduction. Like her, she just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
Until we see her, with that piece of fruit that she's stolen.
But she's a complicated version of evil. Uncle Andrew is a
just selfish.
simple, selfish version of evil.
Yes.
Mhm. Oh yeah, she is like, well, and honestly, I think that that's the most like, if you boil Uncle Andrew and the witch both down to their very core, they're both selfish. And they are both, and that's really their most notable quality, either one of them. And I think that, and they're both selfish and they're both proud. And C.S. Lewis speaks with some eloquence in other places about pride being the catalyst, right, of all sin, not just sin on earth, but the catalyst of Lucifer's fall, right, is his pride in thinking that I should be as great as God. And so the way that pride and that self-absorbed nature just continues to just reassert itself, like Uncle Andrew, I was listening earlier, and because I kind of went back and listened to some of my favorite highlights, and he gets to Narnia and he's like, if only we could just shoot that lion. And if only we could just shoot that lion, I could make so much money here. I could just, plant a piece of and have a fully grown locomotive. Like, this is just like, he's looking at the glory and beauty of creation, and all he sees is dollar signs. And what can I get out of this? He totally misses the forest because he's so busy looking, because for the trees.
Yeah, man. I know I just got done reading the book, but I feel like I want to reread it again just from our discussion already, because I'm just like, oh my God, I love this. The Magician's Nephew for me, I feel, is so underrated. It's got to be one of my favorites among the Narnia books.
It's one of my favorites. It always has been.
And C.S. Lewis is he's an amazing writer. And I think, again, everybody just got so used to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, as Andrew was explaining earlier, being part of school programs and things, reading book programs, but we missed out. They missed out on letting us read The Magician's Nephew because, again, I feel like he added something so wonderful and so special, and my imagination kind of just goes really wild with it. Like, I feel like I'm there. Like, honestly, if I could just go live in an attic and read this book, I probably would. But there's no attic at this current home that I know of. But you never know. There could be a wardrobe. There could suddenly be a lamppost. You never know. Maybe I'll pick up the ring and boom, boom.
It's true. You never can tell. You always have to investigate.
I do. Let me tell you.
Now, one should never shut oneself. It is very unwise to shut oneself in a wardrobe, but one should always at least knock on the back and make sure.
Truth.
There's nothing mysterious. Or a cupboard. You should always check cupboards, under the sink. All the places, just in case.
I'm like, it's got to be here somewhere.
Yeah,
it's got to be here somewhere.
Yeah. But I love the character development, like Polly and Diggory, where they start. Because they also start, I mean, they're children. Their children come selfish, right? That's how they're wired. And so they really come to it, very selfish and very childish, not childlike, yes, and that the wonder and the innocence, but also just childish and foolish sometimes. And so you really see them over the course of the story develop, so much maturity, and that, again, that much character development in a book this big tells such a big story. It's not just a little, let's get into all their psyche kind of story. You really spend very little time talking about what they're thinking. It's much more an action kind of story. But you see so much about how they view the world changing.
Right. Well, and I'm going to make a side note of what you just said. I don't know how C.S. Lewis does it, but somehow he flawlessly it doesn't feel like it's effort. He includes some deeper themes. And I know that each of these books have some are so true to life even now. And there's at one point when Aslan is talking, he goes, my son, said Aslan, I know grief is great. And, even C.S. Lewis approaches that in such a way that's done with empathy and sympathy and just love and kindness. And it's just, you can just feel it. You know what I mean? Like it comes across in such a way that you just feel reassured. Like you almost feel like you've kind of gotten a hug, from Aslan himself, which is amazing. Makes me want to go hug a lion, but I'm not going to do that because they're murder kitties with murder mittens. I know because I have little miniatures called cats.
Yep.
And I'm surprised that Elfie's actually been lurking, but she hasn't gotten up yet. So
okay.
Because usually my cats are known to lurk. Before we go and begin to wrap up things, let's go one more thing for tonight on The Magician's Nephew before we start wrapping up. Do you have a favorite moment or favorite quote you'd like to share from The Magician's Nephew? Like maybe even something that would inspire somebody to read this book. What would it be?
I love the kind of suspense. Like one of my favorite moments in the book is he's talking about the lion singing, like they see all the stuff start to happen, right? Stars come out, things start to light up, and then they see the lion come over the hill. And then the song changed, and that's the end of the chapter. And it's like, I remember like being like, and, because it builds that, it sets up the it like kind of just continues to sort of build that anticipation until when I remember as a kid, when you finally see the lion, you're like, of course it's the lion, because I had read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe at that point. And so of course when the lion showed up, I was like, okay. And so it all kind of made sense. And then it was like this, and then the song changed. You're like, ooh, what on earth is this going to look like?
It's a really well-crafted prequel.
Yes,
it is.
I think amazing. I mean, I haven't read in a while, so like read this in a while, like I said, so like pulling a single moment, but just in kind of what the thing that jumps out at me and what I've either read recently or what I listened to when Merisha was listening to it today. And one of the things that always gets me, I love the way that he constantly describes Aslan. Like when we're watching Aslan, he's creating, he's walking, and he's, they're hearing the song, but the moment that Diggory comes face to face with the lion, he's beautiful and he's terrible.
Yes.
Like he's, it's scary to stand. He's not a tame lion. Like he's this. He's a real lion that you're standing there face to face with. And so there's this moment of like, of fear in what you're coming face to face with. It doesn't make the character cute and cuddly.
And he's not any less good, and any less merciful, because he's no joke. Wouldn't he know without being asked? I know, doubt he would, said the horse, still with his mouth full, but I have an idea. He likes to be asked. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yes. And I would also like to add the quote that no greater wisdom can be reached without sacrifice. Again, there are just little nuggets all over the place, little things that I love about Magician's Nephew that just speaks to my soul, speaks to my spirit. Fear of the unknown. Yes. Magician Nephew for sure. Definitely, I feel as a must read. If you're listening to this day, there's an Elfie right there. If you're just joining us in, thank you. Please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And then also, if you haven't read this book yet, feel free to join us. we're actually rereading it right now in the Red 5 Reading Book Club. We're actually reading the various books of Narnia, and this is the first of many. But it is an easier read.
Mhm.
As Andrew was mentioning earlier, he can probably read all of them in a matter of a week, but we are doing it a book every 2 weeks through October, because in October, the Red 5 Reading Network has voted on, and we will be reading The Interview with the Vampire by Anne
Ooh.
Rice. I know, October and November will be
Okay.
featuring The Interview with the, I know.
That's a
I
good
have not
one.
read that book.
I've
So
not
this is
actually read it. I'm from New
No.
Orleans, so it seems like I should have read, but
Yeah, I've seen the movie. So,
Yeah.
but even then I haven't seen it in a very, very long time. But so I'm excited to read the book.
Yeah.
So,
But if you miss The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is also a perfectly acceptable place to start. So you can
yes,
jump in with The
Yes.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and then go back and read The Magician's Nephew,
yes.
or kind of read it there in the middle. If
Oh
you
my
want to jump
gosh,
in.
yes. And I would love for everybody to join us, because this is just a really good series. I know it's very serious. It's very, very good. I've also I know we've even talked about recording some of it, but honestly, I'll do book reviews because I feel like I want to respect our opportunities to talk in our Red 5 Discord.
Mhm.
What happens in book club stays in book club until we bring it here. So, and I know The Horse and the Boy, the first time I read it, I know it'll be interesting when we reread it, because
Mhm.
I was going through a lot then and it hit home. And now it'll be interesting to see how I see things in hindsight. So,
Mhm.
in that regards, when you join us, there will also be that in this particular community. So, anyways, I am so excited because Merisha, you're coming back with me on the next 5. I am so excited. We were just talking before you got on here, but this is not like we haven't been not talking about it either, because
Right.
I started the series Once Upon a Series based off of another live stream that
Yep.
you were on with me, Kim, Jennifer, and Megan, and you had talked about Cinderella. And now we're going to go even deeper in the Once Upon a Fairy Tale, and we're going to be talking about the fairy tale itself, other
Mhm.
fairy tales, and so much more. So,
Mhm.
friends, make sure you mark July 25th, because Merisha's returning. Her and we're going to have a fun night talking about Cinderella, because we're going back to Once Upon a Fairy Tale. But don't worry, we will also be covering The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe another day. That will be happening also. Oops, I finished oh.
It happens.
I didn't hear that.
Mhm.
And then Isaac says The Horse and it was such a, oh yes, I can't wait to reread that one too. I'm being good, because honestly, I probably read several books at the same time, including the Cinderella books, because that's what I do. Fairy tale, but the various ones. So
Yeah, gotta shake it up.
you guys have been busy, because Andrew mentioned that earlier when Rose showed up.
Mhm.
What have you guys been up to, and what will be happening here for Science Fictionary? Course on Underground reading?
So we're just kind of feeling it out right now, catching up on Andor. We actually finished it,
Mhm.
but we've still got to review the last half of the second season.
Mhm.
Superman, we're going to be reviewing that.
Oh, and
Mhm.
David promised he was going to come
David's
next week.
coming back.
Yeah.
So we spoke briefly to David today. So David should be back on the show next week. I'm not sure if it's going to be an audio show or a YouTube show.
Okay.
He swore by all of his ancestors. He'd be here next week.
So we'll be doing something with him, probably reviewing. We'll probably talk Superman a little bit. We'll probably do a full review with David, because
Okay. I would
I
love
like
to know
to
your
talk that kind of stuff
thoughts.
with David or
Mhm.
Daniel, because they are so
Such-
like that
so
Superman
knowledgeable.
movie is so comic book.
Mhm.
And I really, they're my comic book knowledge. They've always been the comic book knowledge on the show. I was never much of a comic reader.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm not drawing from comic books when I watch these movies, and they are. So I enjoy talking those things with them. But I mean, if you've seen over there's a lot of more content than usual going up on the Science Fictionary page. Now, part of that is that I'm in an effort to try to begin driving more traffic, I'm posting a lot more. So we're now doing a live stream, and then I'm pulling each segment and releasing it as its own video.
Okay.
So if you miss our live stream, I love it when you go back and watch our live streams, but also the individual segments. There's still stuff that won't get transferred over to the separate cuts. There's a lot of jabber in between that gets left out, but some of it I started to post, but there was no context.
Right.
So, but there's a lot more content going on over there. So check it out and leave us comments and hit that subscribe button. And honestly, I'm just going to say this here because it'll help this channel too.
Thank you.
Come back. If you missed the live stream, don't worry about it. Leave comments.
Yeah.
Those comments make a big difference. DJ dropped into one of my videos that went up, and he thought it was the live stream because it was cut from a live stream, and he started commenting. Well, he got like 6 comments in before he realized it wasn't a live stream. But during the course of time that he did that video had a huge spike in viewership, as well as 2 of my other videos spiked. So him commenting on one of my videos spiked it in the algorithm, spiked my whole channel in the algorithm.
Awesome.
So when y'all come back and watch this, leave those comments. Don't be afraid to leave a comment just because the live stream's over.
Good to know.
Agreed. The magic of Diggory. No, that is awesome. And I agree. Now, where can everybody find everything that you guys are putting out content?
So most of it, I am putting some segments up back on our audio platforms. So any podcatcher you use, those you can find at the Science Fictionary podcast, or Coruscant Radio Underground if it's Star Wars related. Hoping to do a lot of Star Wars. It's been a fantastic year for Star Wars. This is the best year for Star Wars that I think maybe since Disney bought it, just being honest. It's the content's all been really, really top notch.
Minus one particular show.
Was that this year?
Yeah.
That got like an Emmy nod.
Oh, the Acolyte. That's been a year, believe it or not. That was last summer.
How did that happen? I'm still like, how?
Yeah. So for 2025, it has been a really with Andor season 2 and Skeleton Crew. I've heard wonderful things about the Tales of the Underworld. I haven't gotten a chance to watch that yet.
That was really good.
But those 3 things alone, I haven't read any of the books. I haven't read any comics this year. But the
Disney Plus
offerings for Star Wars have been amazing. And so I think hoping we're going to be seeing an uptick in Star Wars content. I'm hoping that we're going to do a lot of content at Dragon Con this year. I want to actually do content at the con and post it from the con. But you can find all of our audio podcasts, and then you can find all the rest of everything over on the YouTube channel. Everything, Coruscant Radio Underground and the Science Fictionary are both under the Science Fictionary podcast over there. There's a different tab if you want to separate them out. There's also just a tab that'll just show you all of our recent videos. And then you can find us on Twitter at sci_fictionary.
That's
awesome. Awesome. Well, Merisha, where can everyone find you?
Oh, Merisha doesn't do social media currently.
Yep.
Like, it's probably been 6 months since I posted on any of my social media except my Facebook, which I don't do.
So if you want to leave Merisha a message, leave it at the Twitter account.
Yeah.
I'll get it to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then, of course, you can find Science Fictionary as well as Coruscant Underground Radio and many more. Also, BioLink/Red5. So you can connect with them there. And this has been wonderful. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. I'm excited to have you back, Merisha, here in a few like a week and some days, because it's going to be fun to talk about Cinderella. We're going to go to the dark side and the good side of it. So I'm excited for that. So thank you to everybody. Feel free to join us at the Red 5 Reading Book Club. Again, you can find me on X, again at Red 5 Reading, as well as the bio link /Red 5. So I thank you to everybody for joining in the chat. Please make sure you hit the like button before you leave, please, as well as make sure you hit subscribe so you know when I'm going live. Make sure you check out Andrew and Merisha so you know when they're going live, because they do sporadically go live and I gotta go, I'm at work. Like, and then remind myself that I can go back and watch again later, or watch their other segments and comment, and then that'll help. So see, everything helps. It helps. So anyways, it has been great again hanging out with everybody in the chat. Thank you again, Andrew and Merisha. It is always fun to have you guys on.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us.
for having us. It's been fun.
So, no, thank you. And until next time, I will see you guys on the 5s. Everyone have a good night. Bye.